As a CEO, it's part of your job to talk to people, to tell your company's story to customers, investors, and to communicate your vision, mission, and values consistently to your team and partners. And it's fair to assume that you spend a lot of time speaking, but are you communicating enough? One of the key challenges that you'll probably encounter lies in remembering that you hold a unique perspective. You likely have more information than anyone else because your attention is spread across every part of the business, internally and externally. Other people don't have this same perspective, and so what's obvious to you may not be to them. You also probably spend most of your time thinking about risks, issues in the future. Again, other people don't because their attention is on delivering what they need to deliver today, which, by the way, is where you want it to be. So it's easy to forget that your vantage point gives you full sight of the panorama around you, while others can only see part of the picture. And only seeing part of the picture leads to miscommunication, misalignment, duplication, and frustration. And a lot of the time, the things that cause these issues are really easy to fix if you have the right information. At the same time, too much noise is distracting. Your customers and investors don't typically care about the intricacies of your forecasting process, but your finance team probably do. Your salespeople might not need to know much about your new product that you're developing just yet, and in fact telling them will be confusing and will take them away from their key task of finding new customers. The art of CEO communication is in finding the balance between signal and noise. Judging what different people or groups need to know when and how best to deliver it to them is an ever-shifting maze, but it's one that you must navigate to be effective. To make things just that little bit more challenging, most people think they want to know everything, until you start to tell them everything, and then their eyes glaze over as they rapidly lose interest. Now, of course, every company is different, and so the optimal flow of information in your business will be unique. But there are some key principles you can apply that will help you judge how best to communicate to the world around you. To start with, work out who you need to communicate with. Focus on some key stakeholder groups, so customers, investors, analysts, internal team members, your board, and break these down as far as it makes sense to do so. It's usually helpful, for example, to break down internal team members into segments like sales, marketing, finance, and operations, and you might go even further than that if you're running a large organization. Then decide how regularly or in what circumstances you should be communicating with each of these groups. You might decide, for example, that it's appropriate to update your board quarterly and your chair monthly, but also if there are any material changes in the business that they should be informed about. Schedule time to communicate with each stakeholder group at the appropriate intervals and refer to this communication map anytime something significant happens. For each stakeholder category, you should then ask 3 questions. Number 1, what do they need to know? In case of your internal team, what do they need to know to deliver? Number 2, what would be useful but not essential for them to know? And along with that, is this information likely to distract or confuse them? If it will, then your best option may not to be communicating it at all. And thirdly, what would they like to know? And is that information helpful to them in some way? You can use these 3 questions to structure your regular communications with each group, and you can also filter any non-standard updates through them. The final decision you need to make is on the best way to communicate the message that you have to deliver. Is the information likely to be controversial or confusing? If it is, then you'll probably want to do it live and give people the opportunity to ask questions. Is it related to a new process or procedure or connected to lots of facts and figures? Well, then an email with attachments may be a better option. Or is it quick and specific but also urgent and important? In that case, speak briefly to people individually. There are plenty of options on how to communicate things, and some trial and error will probably be needed to find the right approach for each of your stakeholder groups. And if in doubt, over-communicate. While you don't want to swamp people with irrelevant information, most of the time they'll appreciate being in the loop. Be selective, but generous with your communication. and you'll start to see better decision making, more transparent interactions, and much less friction.